Do you have enough light in your life? Are you soaring in the joy around you? Are you stuck and unable to make life happen? Stay tuned for the Rabbi Jenny Show, where you will learn how to bask in the light and find more joy and meaning in life. Call to talk to Rabbi Jenny at 888-565-1470 and email questions and comments at rabbijenny.com. And now, if you're ready, stay tuned for the rabbi who will light your world on fire, Rabbi Jenny.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Rabbi Jenny, and I am so excited to be here. We have a sexy show for you today. We are talking about living a sensual life. So if you're listening, we're going to talk about sensuality. We're going to talk about awakening your senses and becoming in touch with the world around you and living a more authentic, joy-filled life. Before we start, I want to remind you of the Rabbi Jenny page on Facebook. Please go like it, hang out with me there on the Facebook, and I have the Twitter and the Instagram. So if you can find me, I think it's Jenny Rabbi or Rabbi Jenny. Please check it out. I'm working on that. And check out the website, rabbijenny.tv, letting you know there is a contact form on the website. So if you want to contact me, a couple came through this week. Yay, yay, yay. So it is working. We're very, very excited. And before we move forward with our sensual topic, listeners, we are going to remind you of the two main ideas of the Rabbi Jenny Show. They are the two main ideas I want to bring to you every week. And they are, first, that the world is happening for you and not to you. And that is 100% all the time. The world is happening for you and not to you, no exceptions. And the second main idea of the Rabbi Jenny Show is that you are divine love light energy and waiting to expand, and that is why the world is happening for you. So the topic today, listeners, my friends, I've missed you all week long. I want to talk to you about living a sensual life. Sensuality is something that is extremely misunderstood. It is actually sexualized. Sensuality actually just means the five senses, living life, being in tune with your senses, touch, taste, feel, smell. It's a very different way of living if you're used to living stuck in your head. So this is going to be an important show for you guys who are stuck in your mind, having trouble shutting that head off, because you're going to learn in this show how to live a more sensual life. So let me tell you the inspiration for today's show and how we got there from today's Torah portion. We are knee-deep in Deuteronomy. We are getting ready to finish the scroll. It's almost New Year's in the Jewish calendar. And this portion's called Ki Tavo. And this is it's kind of a happy little portion right at the end of Deuteronomy. And, it's about getting there. Like, what do we do when we get there? And the coolest thing about what we do when we get there is we rejoice. That's the big deal. We gather our first fruits, according to this portion, and we give them to Adonai, our God, and then we rejoice. We literally rejoice. And if you look at the word for joy or rejoice, it's made up of three very sensual letters. And the first letter is Shin, and that is the three flames of the Shekhinah, which is the fire, the passion of life. And the middle letter is a Mem, which is the Mayim, or the water, and represents the flow. And the last letter is a Chet for Chai, or life, L'chaim. So joy in Judaism is not just joy. It's actually a sensual experience of taking the passion and flowing it through to live a full life. And so that is how I got there. I got there to the topic there, and then I looked up joy on one of my sites where I get quotes, and I was introduced to a very sexy writer that I used to listen to. She's very sensual. I shouldn't use the word sexy. I don't want to scare you away from the Rabbi Jenny Show today. But this is a writer that I got really into in college. It's Anais Nin, if you know anything about her. She's extremely sensual. But I was looking up quotes on joy, and I read this passage from one of her diaries. And it's pretty sensual, folks. So I hope you're sitting back there in your seats and ready to hear this. And this is about the sensuality of life, and that sensuality is about feeling, not about thinking. It's essentially always associated with women, which is so interesting because Walt Whitman and some of our most famous poets, some of our most famous leaders and mystics got very in touch. Rumi, Hafiz, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddha got very in touch with their senses when they became enlightened. So listen to this, sit back, or if you're driving, just chill out. We're going to read this very sensual excerpt from Anais Nin's diary. Man can never know the loneliness a woman knows. Man lies in the woman's womb only to gather strength. He nourishes himself from this fusion, and then he rises and goes into the world, into his work, into the battle, into the art. He is not lonely, he is busy. The memory of the swim in the amniotic fluid gives him energy, completion. Woman may be busy too, but she feels empty. Sensuality for her is not only a wave of pleasure in which she is bathed and a charge of electric joy, a contact with another. Touch. When man lies in her womb, she is fulfilled. Each act of love and taking a man within her, an act of birth and rebirth. But for a woman, the climax is not in birth, but the moment man rests inside her. Oh, that is so sensual and feely. This is exciting for me. I love talking about this stuff because I have to bring you back in time to a time in my life when I was 10 years old. And this is a story about sensuality and the difference between sexuality and sensuality, and why we must, listeners, return to a sensual way of living. We must become in our bodies. We must start to appreciate the magic and beauty in life. It is very, very important. Even if I can encourage you from the show to spend 5 minutes of your day actually becoming sensual, whether it's the way you eat, the way you smell, the way you talk, what you wear, that you become conscious of your physical sensations when you're doing that. So I was in summer camp. I was 10 years old and I was a singer, and my parents sent me up to this summer camp in Maine. And I wanted to describe to you the woods of Maine in the late 70s. The woods of Maine were dewy in the morning, and you could walk in the woods and you could just pick fresh blackberries. Anywhere you look, there was just fresh blackberries. And then the lake water, if you dove in, we used to do the polar bearing in the morning, and you would dive in that freezing lake water and you would feel it in your body. And the wet grass and playing jazz music with a bunch of kids in camp. But there was something that happened to me that was really, really sensual. Because remember, I'm dealing with taste here in this story. I'm dealing with touch. I'm dealing with sound. I'm dealing with feeling. I'm dealing with hearing, the birds, the crunching beneath your feet. But I got to tell you this moment. There was an older camper there. I was 9. Okay, I went away when I was 9. It was a little terrifying, but that was okay because there was this older camper. Her name was Helene, and if she is listening or if she happens to I can't remember her last name, but she was just the coolest chick in the world. I think she was 16, and she was so cool. And there was a moment where sensually she changed my life. And I know what you're thinking, what is Rabbi Jenny going to say here? Don't totally freak out. This is really in tune with what I'm talking about. Because remember, I'm talking about your 5 senses, listeners. Sensuality is about becoming in touch with your 5 senses. So I went into her room in the cabin, and she's like, Jen. And I was just little, man. And she sits me down. She goes, you got to hear this. And that's exactly what she said. She said, you got to hear this. And I sat down and she played Led Zeppelin, Black Dog for me, and then proceeded to play the whole album. And I went to a place listening to Robert Plant's voice that I had never been before. And that is sensuality. When we are affected by our ears, by our tongues, by our eyes, by our noses, when we actually become conscious of the fact that things in life touch us. And I have to be honest that as we age, this goes away. And I'm not sure why it goes away, but I'm aware that this happened to me when I was 9. And it wasn't until I actually became a rabbi and came home from completing seminary that I started to live a sensual life. I did not understand what happened when I finished seminary, but I started to become enraptured by the world around me. I came home and I would notice flowers, and I would notice smells, and I would notice tastes, and I wanted to travel, and I wanted to smell, and I wanted to do anything involving being alive, because I was no longer stuck in my mind. I was now stuck in my body. It was an extremely amazing experience. One may call it mystical, but it is available to each one of us. And that is what this show is about, that you can live a truly sensual life, a mystical life, where you allow life to touch you in many, many different ways. because it is really ridiculous. I get a little extravagant at the grocery store, listeners, so I actually recommend doing this. Mangoes are really delicious, but I like flowers, like buying flowers, and I put them in my house, and I have these delicious roses. They're like these baby roses that they had that were like, I don't know, 3 for $12 at Publix or something, and I this morning, I was just like, okay, I'm doing a show on sensuality, and I'm smelling these roses, and I'm like, oh my God, who created this smell of rose? Absolutely ridiculously fabulous. So I want to talk to you about the difference between thinking and sensing, because you're probably like, well, I don't get it, Jenny. What's the point? You want me to smell flowers? Are you kidding me? I got stuff to do. I have to go home. I have to pack my kids' lunch. And you want me to smell flowers? Well, maybe smell your kids' bubble bath when you're giving them a bath. Sensuality is not something that you have to make complicated. This is something that we can figure out on a little way too. But I found this amazing article on sensual living by Tal Gore, and he used a quote by the Buddha. I love quotes, listeners, and Buddha said, when eating, just eat. I love that. Like, just eat. Like, don't think about what you're eating. Don't worry about what you're eating. Just taste the fruit that is in front of you. Delicious, delicious, delicious. But let's talk about the difference. Why would you want to sense versus think? And the reason why you would want to sense rather than think, or at least balance them both in your life, because you're like, Jenny, I don't want to throw out my brain. Okay, well, let me just tell you that thinking burns your energy fast. It is busy and active, involving the past and the future. It is high energy and can also be extremely exhausting. When it is done for a long time, it can throw you into a state of actual exhaustion and enervation is what they call it, draining. Sensing, on the other hand, is the opposite. And this is what I want to encourage you. It conserves your energy. It has a low charge and lets your body soften. So even if you step outside in the middle of your workday and look up at the sky and notice a bird flying, you have now brought yourself into a state where you're using less energy. Because your senses are there for a reason, my friends. They are there for you to live an authentic life. That is why it's so important to rejoice. That's why we're so reminded to look into life. When I went to Peru to study and travel, and I don't even know why I went there. I went there and the food just tasted better. I don't know. Maybe it's because my cell phone was off for 2 weeks. I'm not really sure. But what I was aware of is that the people actually lived sensually, whether it was the way they spoke or the way they sewed things. Everything was about the body. Everything was about experiencing it. I was talking about Walt Whitman before because I absolutely love Walt Whitman, and he wrote this poem called Leaves of Grass. And I don't want to say that women are sensual. I want men to know that sensuality is something that all of us crave. That idea of comfort and ease and deliciousness and joy and just a breath of this is just lying in the Garden of Eden for one moment of life. Walt Whitman says, touch me, touch the palm of your hand to my body as I pass. Be not afraid of my body. He says, I believe in the flesh and the appetites. Seeing, hearing, feeling are miracles, and each part and tag of me is a miracle. Divine am I inside and out, and I make holy whatever I touch and am touched from. The scent of these armpits, aroma finer than prayer. This head more than churches, Bibles, and all the creeds. He recognized very early on the magic in what we can see and taste and touch. I was in class with one of my teachers, and I want to talk about this experience because it was really sensual. And I talked about it on an earlier show about these cuties. You go to the grocery store and they have these cuties, these little oranges, cutie pies is what they call them. And one of the assignments in my apprenticeship was that we actually had to eat the cutie pie, this little orange, and tangerine or whatever it is, please. And we had to eat it sensually. You had to hold it in your mouth. And it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. I never realized how I just didn't taste my food. Even when I was going out for food that I really liked, even if it was sushi, which I just absolutely love. It's such a tactile, I was just eating it faster and faster. So we are, talking about, sensuality. This is Rabbi Jenny. We'll be right back with our Bad Mama Jamla. Come on back. 2 hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Caladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny from the Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life.
Are you or someone you love suffering from a substance abuse problem? Have you tried many different ways to heal and rebuild your life and are finally ready for a solution? At Bliss Recovery, there is a solution. At Bliss Recovery, one examines foundational issues and is guided by talented, qualified professionals to rebuild one's life. Learning coping skills in a supportive environment, clients of Bliss Recovery rebuild their life with increased self-esteem, awareness, and purpose. At Bliss Recovery, one is awakened to joy and connection to the world. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul. Find the solution to your substance abuse problem and contact Bliss Recovery now at 844-84-BLISS or go to blisstreatment.com. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back to our show about living a sensual life. I want to remind you that in the Torah it talks about that the land is flowing with milk and honey. That's so delicious, isn't it? I'm feeling very delicious today. And I want to tell just a little story about the beach. And a very, very quick way to get sensual in your life is to go to the beach. It awakens all of your senses, whether you're walking on the sand or whether you immerse yourself in the salty water or simply just look at the sky and the kites and the boats and the people walking by. You awaken your sensuality. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, walk as if your feet are kissing the earth. Like we forget the soles of our feet are actually touching something. You know, it's like every single part of our body has the capacity to feel on the outside, and yet we limit things to certain parts of our body. This is a risque little Rabbi Jenny show. We are going to introduce our bad Mama Jamma, but before we do and get the song going, I just want to tell you this lady is responsible for the Rabbi Jenny show here on 1470. It was a sensual experience when I was on her show. So let's introduce Halley Elise, our bad Mama Jamma. Rabbi Jenny.
Mama Jamma. Mama Jamma.
I don't know if I have the gun thing going on, but that's okay.
No, I know it's a little 70s.
Like a little interesting
it's
throwback.
It's a little 70s. You know, it's a little big. It's like the biggest gun on the whole planet.
The only good news is that her bottom is larger. You know, just like that song. It's all about the bass.
Right. It's all yes.
So you don't have to worry about it.
No, you know. So Halley, welcome.
Thank
Tell
you.
everybody who you are. and
Okay.
what you do.
Okay. I am Halley Elise. I'm known as the Empowerment Psychic, and I've had a practice locally for over 20 years. I've been doing what I've been doing for, believe it or not, over 30 years, but that means you have to know my age. Nah, we'll pass on that. But what I want to clarify is when you say the word psychic, a lot of people automatically go into defense mode. Oh, she's one of them. But there are different people that work with different modes and different modalities. And I'm so glad we're doing a show on sensuality because honestly, when I teach students how to connect with their own intuitiveness, I'm constantly saying, don't think, feel, don't think, feel, don't think, feel. And it's
So
funny
important.
because we go through all of these different techniques for them to recognize that, as you were saying, you know, there's a part of you that's touching your environment at any given point. And the more cognizant you become of that, the more capable you are of living your life to the best of your ability. And when a client comes in, let's say just on a one-on-one session, and they go, oh, I'm here to find out, you know, if Johnny's going to marry me type of thing, I usually pick up right away on, well, Johnny's not marrying you because Johnny's just like Steve and Phil and Mike. You haven't yet taken care of you. So let's, you know, look at that, which sometimes people are like, well, that's not why I came in. I wanted, you know, you to tell me. Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to tell you, but I'm also going to empower you to make changes in your life if you desire that, so that your life really can be what you want it to be.
So tell us about sensuality for you, like in your own. Yeah, we gotta
We
go.
just talked
You know,
about that.
Rabbi Jenny Show. We just, you know, we'll do a
Love
little
it.
we'll do a little promotion. But you know, Hallie's a very, you know, this is a woman who's living her bliss. So
Absolutely.
sensuality is obviously a central part of her existence. If you know her,
It's daily. I mean, all kidding aside, I just showed a friend of mine, hadn't seen her for a while, my new place. And one of the components that had to be essential was the idea that it was sensual. When you walk in, the space smells a certain way. You know, it's inviting. The scent itself says, come on in, be relaxed, be a part of this space.
Right.
The colors are aesthetic, so the eyes are happy. The sounds that are going on in the background, unless I'm in party mood, which is usually at 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm dancing, there's usually nice, calm sounds, with the exception of a meow here
okay.
and
So
there.
wait a minute, you're dancing at. Wait, you got to go back because
Okay.
I'm dancing at 5 a.m. So you're dancing at
5
7
a.m.,
a.m.
I'm not getting out of bed. There's no way, not happening. No, at 7, I'm pushed because I have 2 little meows that come over and go, lady, get up and feed us. So once I get up and feed them, stereo goes on or the CD goes on and I start dancing because that's how I wake up. I love to move. I love music. But again, it's that sensuality. I don't wear shoes when I dance. And it's funny because friends that see me dance usually say, why are you on your toes? I'm like, I don't know, because I have to feel the air. you know?
Yes.
I have to feel that movement as I am dancing. So truly, my, if you will, not my existence so much, but my purpose has to do with environment, has to do with sensation, has to do with touch. And as I said on the break very quickly, I was sharing with an old friend earlier today about how, you know, you can't limit your perception to 2 or 3 parts of bodies.
Right.
You have to have more than that. Understand that your body is not just there to serve you in a moment. It's there for the entire experience. And that-
Well, yeah, and I really wanted to get back. For some reason, your cats, like, they called to me when you were speaking, and this idea of pets and sensuality, like the idea of the fur, you know,
yeah,
like
touching the fur. Are you kidding? That's
just having a pet
amazing.
sit with you
Well,
and hang
think
out with you.
Think about how soothing it is, how relaxing, how calming. If you've had a busy day and you have, whether it's a cat or a dog, but they snuggle up next to you and they allow you to pet their fur. And, you know, a cat specifically does the little purr thing. And you're like, oh, they're content. And there you go. There's that sensory awareness. You're listening to it, but you're also vibrating with them. And there is that frequency that changes when you're around animals. Science has shown us over and over again that people that have animals in their life live longer. People that have had mental aberrations, that have been injured in car accidents, give them a pet. All of a sudden, things start to heal. So you're touching them, but you're also interacting with them at a level that you're not even conscious of.
And then there's this idea of, you know, sensuality isn't all about touch.
No.
Like it's about
It's
taste,
also taste,
and it's
very
it's
much
about
so.
smell. Like you said, it has to smell a certain way, and it's about listening. Like one of the coolest things is music.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, where has the sensuality of music come into your life? Like,
Well, you want to laugh. I walked into the station, I think it was last week or the week before, and I said to our producer, this is a radio station. Why do we not have music running through the station when we walk in the door? We should be
Right.
hearing music. And he said, well, why? Do you want to dance? I said, well, if you put on the right music, I'll dance, but we still should have music. music. It's that oral stimulation, but it's more than that. It's being in touch with your world. Think about all the sounds that we hear every single day. You hear cars honking, you hear people yelling or laughing or children interacting with one another. Now that can be a blessing or it can be a hardship. It just depends on how you are in your world. Are you open to actually hearing versus keeping your ears attached to some sort of headphone and with some sort of device?
It's funny that you mentioned that. When my son and his best friend, when they were younger, they used to giggle. It was a little girl, and they would sit for hours and just giggle. And I would sit and I would crack the door and just listen to them giggling. Like it was just the most infectious sound. So it doesn't have to be music. Like we talked about the beach. It can be waves.
It can be drums. It could be the snapping of your fingers
or
to
even
a certain
those birds
tone.
that annoy you in the morning. Instead of being annoyed by that, whatever that crane is in Florida that like just decides to like chomp at like 4 a.m. It's like a spoonbill thing. I don't know, but it's really loud every morning. But maybe just like get into it. Like get into what is that making me feel? Is it telling me to get up? Do I have something to do? Do I have something to hear? Is there something I'm not listening to? Is it trying to get my attention? Well,
I'm sure, as you know, Dr. Wayne Dyer just passed recently, and one of the things that he said over the years was that if you awaken in middle of the night, you're supposed to listen, but not necessarily listen with your ears. Listen within. There's a reason for you to be awake. There's something that you should do, that you should sense, that you should be a part of. So act on it versus saying, "Oh, why am I awake?" and going back to sleep.
And I love that because, again, what a loss.
Yes.
But again, because so much of his work has helped so many people.
Amazing.
I love that idea though. If you're not living a sensual life, you might miss your cues. And not that there's such a thing. It was like, well, if everything's in divine order, I don't miss my cues, Jenny. But it's like, if you're not taking in your environment, then you won't notice it in the way it was intended. You might input it wrong. Like you might be inputting it from only a mental place. Like one of my sacred sisters last night, she just stop thinking, just let go, just stop.
Somebody said that to you?
Yes, I'm around it. That's all we do is think. We just but she just said, just stop. Thinking at all. Like in this particular area of your life, you're not allowed to think. You spend all the other areas of your life thinking. This one, you're done. Like it's just time out. But if you're observing, you will notice things. And if you're observing the way things feel,
it's huge.
Clothing is huge. Like the difference.
Absolutely.
Like
you put something on that's soft and silky or satiny or chiffon versus something like taffeta that's hard or scratchy, or silk at times can be very scratchy. And that can affect your mood as well when you're aware of that texture against your skin, or even when you sit on something and you feel it underneath your legs. Yeah, and that can affect you.
And then the perfume issue is tricky because some people don't like strong perfume, but aromatherapy is something that can be very like just smelling an orange or smelling a fruit. Like that doesn't have that kind of thing, but it can take you to another state of mind. Like there are candles. There are stores that sell candles that smell like the beach. Candles smell like the mountains, like lemonade.
Apple pie.
Oh, yeah. Well, the apple pie is...
Cinnamon, Seriously, think about like on the holidays, whether it's Rosh Hashanah or you've got Christmas. During the holidays, we're all about scents. We're all about sensuality. We were talking very early on about honey and challah, apples. It's that taste, that texture, that crunch, that sweetness. And we do it for a specific purpose. But it is that idea of experiencing it. What does that make you feel like? And the expression of, oh, it's yummy or it's delicious.
Well, and life is delicious. My teacher, the Rebbe, he was, put the J back in joy.
Ooh. What is that?
That is a little, I don't know, whole lot of love. That's Robert Plant. You can play him anytime, any place for me. My whole life will stop. Come back. We're talking about sensuality with Halley Elise. This is Rabbi Jenny. The after-school hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Caladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny from the Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life.
Are you or someone you love suffering from a substance abuse problem? Have you tried many different ways to heal and rebuild your life and are finally ready for a solution? At Bliss Recovery, there is a solution. At Bliss Recovery, one examines foundational issues and is guided by talented, qualified professionals to rebuild one's life. Learning coping skills in a supportive environment, clients of Bliss Recovery rebuild their life with increased self-esteem, awareness, and purpose. At Bliss Recovery, one is awakened to joy and connection to the world. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul. Find the solution to your substance abuse problem and contact Bliss Recovery now at 844-84-BLISS or go to blisstreatment.com. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, welcome back. We're here with Halley on the Rabbi Jenny Show, and we're talking about sensuality. We're here for the Bad Mama Jamma segment, and I want to talk about the messiness of sensuality. Like, there's an amazing quote by Alexander McCall Smith, and it says, "She was made for untidy rooms and rumpled beds." Ooh, sexy.
That sounds good.
But it's the idea of becoming messy, and there's a lot of talk about environmentalism and taking the sensuality out of life. Like, it's going green, all the clothes are gray and muted colors, and pull your hair back, but
that's so not eco. Think about the planet and the flowers. I mean, truly, it's all about color.
But there is definitely amongst the green population this idea of becoming one, as opposed. So there's a lot of talk about messiness and expressing yourself, and that is sensual. Like how in your own life, Halley, have you been challenged to get a little messy? To bring in more sensuality.
We don't have that long.
We do. We actually have quite a few minutes for me to talk to you about your messy life.
My messy life. Oh my gosh. All kidding aside, I've been challenged so many times. It's kind of amusing. I have been through a tornado. I have been through a hurricane. I was gone through my grandmother, my Nana, with Alzheimer's and a broken hip at the same time. I could go on and on and on with lots of different things. But wait. They're things that show up, but it's how you deal with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. The messier that it got, the easier it got for me, which sounds crazy, but as chaotic as my life became, I found myself getting centered and allowing that, if you will, absurdity of the mess to just take over, let it do what it needed to do. And so you start to look at things differently. For instance, when a storm was coming, And the tornado was the funniest, really, because I was hearing sounds next to the house.
Yeah,
I'm
the
like,
train.
what was that? It's a Sunday afternoon. The stereo's on, and I'm going to my family. I'm hearing something. I think we have a storm. I'm feeling something different. And at the time, now my ex-husband, buddy at the time, he's like, you're nuts. You're not hearing anything. I'm like, I'm telling you. I'm
There's a
hearing
train,
something,
yeah.
And I look outside, and the neighbor's roof is flying. There's a tree going, and I'm like, okay. I go back in the house. I'm like, there's a tornado outside. And you just say, okay, so what am I going to do about that? I'm going to allow it. And afterwards, it was almost funny because it was surreal. You walk outside, and there's a different
true.
feeling. There's a different, truly a different innate awareness that takes hold when you experience something like that. My neighbor's house burnt down, for instance, and there were 40 feet in the sky flames, and there was more concern about, did the family get out? Was the family there? You talk about messy, different type, obviously,
Right.
than what we're talking about. But sensuality kicks in full fold, that awareness,
Right.
that observation. You're hyper alert in those types of situations.
Well, and those things happen to you. But
Right.
you're an intuitive, and I know that you have had to break barriers in your own journey to move to move forward in sensuality. Like, you don't just wake up one day and start dancing at 7 a.m. and making your house smell good and putting everything in order. Like,
You'd have to ask my mom about that from when I was little.
but I mean, but what I'm saying is like there is a time in your life where you have to risk
Yes.
blowing things apart
Yes.
in order to become more sensual.
But truthfully, I've been doing that ever since I was little. There were times, and I would say I was more alert and aware perhaps when I was really little, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I hit somewhere around 12, 13, 14, and became more reclusive, more
Right.
inclusive, and everything else. I won't say that it was a bother, but there was almost a uncomfortableness about it. Getting messy in that moment
Yes.
was bad,
Right.
because you have all those peers around you
Right,
that are telling you
exactly.
it doesn't look right, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And just to give an example, I went to a school in a very wealthy area, and everybody's driving around in these very expensive cars, and my family was, middle income. They did fine. And I didn't drive in a fancy car because my family felt that I needed to learn responsibility, and I was going to get a car, but it was going to take time, and everything was good. But I would find myself dressing in ways that were contrary to what everybody else was doing. Talk about creating a mess.
Right.
Oh, why is she doing that? Oh, why are you dealing with her? Well, she hears things that aren't and sees things that aren't there. So it creates a different environment. The idea of, if you were letting go, and I swear, just discussing this at lunch today with someone. When we get older, at least for me, it's been my experience that you get to a point that you really understand it's not about anybody else.
Right.
It's about you. How are you feeling? How are you perceiving? If somebody else doesn't like something, sorry, that's their problem. It is not my problem. If I feel inspired to get up and dance, I'm going to do it. My daughter will tell you from the time she can remember, I would drive down the street, and if a good song came on, I'd pull over to the side of the road, open the door, get out and start dancing. And she would do this whole cringing thing in the car. And she'd go, Mom, get in the car.
So what about like the sensuality in your in your own private life? Like, was there a time when you weren't able to, being an intuitive, people are always asking, they're always wanting,
Right.
they're always this, and you have to carve out that time to take a bath, to dance in the morning. Like that is, to get close to
Right.
someone in a
Right.
sensual way. I mean, have there been challenges for you in that area? Is that a challenge?
A lot, because I would get phone calls at 2:00 in the morning. And again, my ex would not even look at the phone. He'd hand it over and say, it's got to be for you. And he'd roll over and go back to sleep. But, the whole bath thing, bubble bath at 1 a.m. If that's when I could squeeze it in, that's when I could squeeze it in.
Right.
As far as the whole taste, the visual, I would, and I am not a morning person at all, but I would get up at 5:30 to get down to the beach so that I could watch the sunrise. Or I would sit there all night. Actually, I had a really great experience one evening with a friend. We sat there all night watching the sky change colors.
Wow.
From, black to indigo blue till it got to be morning. And over the course of the evening, we met so many interesting people, including a veteran who was now living on the beach, and a police officer who had a problem with the veteran. And it just went on and on. But we sat there with our feet in the sand, watching the sky, listening to the sounds. And this was one of my meditation students. And we went out specifically with the idea to be aware. So carving that time out, if it's 5 minutes or an hour, it's something that's
so
intrinsic.
important. It's so important.
It's intrinsic for me on a private level.
And it is a challenge, listeners. So when you're listening, it's much easier. When you're listening, I want you to listen to me in a sensual way, and I want you to hear that you have permission today to be a little bit more sensual, to get more in touch with your life. Hallie, how do the listener? Before we continue talking, how do our listeners get in touch with you? What's your contact information?
Okay.
It's on the screen, but we're on radio, so
right. We're on both.
Yeah, we're on both. But,
See, we're engaging senses. They're
yes,
hearing,
there we go.
Watching. Okay, really very easy. HalleyElise.com is the website, but you can find me on Facebook. If you Google me, you'll find about 30 pages between the books that have been published, the radio shows that have been done over the years. I had Conscious Sex with CHSR out of California, which was in the top 10 within the first couple of weeks. That was fun. Did Push and Pull at Midnight a while back, which was fun. Did Quantum Life Hour. All this stuff is out there. I can't believe, but it is. And I'm located in Boca Raton, so it's really easy to get a hold of me. I'm actually in the Greenhouse office building, which, by the way, this coming Monday night is Psychic Gallery. So if you've not joined me before, you may want to do that, because even though it's the holiday, after you're done barbecuing and you've put the kids to bed at 7:30, come on out, refresh, de-stress, and also get your individualized psychic message. A lot of fun. Everybody always leaves with a smile on their face, because I believe in laughter and playing, and we all have a good time, and we all take something away.
So, Hallie, what could you do more? Like, one of the things, I like to, the listeners listen to experts and people who can help, but we all have areas in our life where we are missing a sensual aspect.
Right.
I can name my own, and for the listeners, these can involve silly things, like just not taking the time. So in what areas of your own life, I don't even know what they will be, but what could you add a little sensual element to make them more bearable? I think you could make paying bills sensual if you really, or traffic.
I don't have a problem with that. Honestly, because over the years I've attended courses, and I've actually examined, how do I feel about paying the bill? Well, when I have money to pay the bill, I'm happy to pay the bill.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. But for others listening in who are trying to figure out, to live a sensual life is too much trouble. As you were saying before, they have kids to take care of, they have lives to live. But the truth is, practical philosophy actually teaches that when you first get up in the morning, just be still for one moment. Listen to the sound of your breath. Feel the breath. Look around the room and see what is in your environment. How do your eyes feel? Are they heavy? Are they wide awake? What are you hearing? What can you literally reach out and touch? In other words, engage your senses, become aware. This does not take a long time, but what it does is it grounds you.
Right, and I'm going to ask you again, because this is the Rabbi Jenny Show.
Okay.
In what area of your life? We want to know about you, Halley Elise. I want to know in what area of your life, because people identify with other people's stuff.
Yes. Okay. So in my life, it's a toughie, because I tend to not give away too much on a personal end. Oh, what area of my life can I be more sensually aware? Probably relationships, not with family and friends, but with gentlemen that I spend time with.
And is it when people, again, it just goes back to that same issue. Is sensual how? Is it in I know we could listen more, or maybe we could dance more. Or,
it's the play part of it. It's the dancing. It's the engaging. It's the physical, because I tend to be that person who says, "Let's go," and the other one goes, "Well, I need a drink first." I'm like, "No, you don't. Just get on the dance floor, for Pete's sakes." Or, come walk out in the rain. I dated somebody some time ago, and it was storming. Raining, cats and dogs. And I grabbed his hand, and I ran out in the front of the yard and started kissing him. And he looks at me and he goes, "You're nuts." I said, "Okay, and you're staying here?" He goes, "Yeah, I am." So that type of thing, if you will. I don't have a problem doing that, but I have to remember to do that more often.
Yeah, and also just the sensuality of listening to another person's rhythm.
Yes.
A lot of times we want to dance, we want to be in rhythm with another person, but again, they're not as out, they're not as out there or working like we are with that. And this is Rabbi Jenny. Thank you, Hallie Elise, for being here. We'll be right back with the Joy Jar and
Joy jar.
Yeah,
we
have the Joy Jar.
Should be the new sensual Joy Jar. We have to feel it.
Joy, come on back. It's Rabbi Jenny.
Are you or someone you love suffering from a substance abuse problem? Have you tried many different ways to heal and rebuild your life and are finally ready for a solution? At Bliss Recovery, there is a solution. At Bliss Recovery, one examines foundational issues and is guided by talented, qualified professionals to rebuild one's life. Learning coping skills in a supportive environment, clients of Bliss Recovery rebuild their life with increased self-esteem, awareness, and purpose. At Bliss Recovery, one is awakened to joy and connection to the world. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul. Find the solution to your substance abuse problem and contact Bliss Recovery now at 844-84-BLISS or go to blisstreatment.com. Bliss Recovery, building lives, spirit, and soul.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny from the Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life. The after-school hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Caladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net. You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back. We're talking about living a sensual life. I have a couple quotes. One's by Mother Teresa, and this is one of my favorites. Joy is the net of love by which you can catch lost souls. And she was talking about a sensual way of living, and I will talk about something in my own life. But I want to read you guys something before we get to the joy jar. This is a delicious passage from J. Ruth Gendler's The Book of Qualities. And it's actually, I think the woman in it is named Sensuality, and I found it. So indulge me, sit back, and get a little sensual. Sensuality does not wear a watch, but she always gets to the essential places on time. She is adventurous and not particularly quiet. She was reprimanded in grade school because she couldn't sit still all day long. She needs to move. She thinks with her body. Even when she goes to the library to read Dickinson or Bronte, she starts reading out loud and swaying with the words. And before she can figure out what is happening, she is asked to leave. As you might expect, she is a disaster at office jobs. I don't want to deter my listeners. I'm going to stop right there, because if you are working in an office, you can be a sensual human being. I am telling you, you can stick a candle at your desk and your life will change, listeners. We do have someone on the air for the Joy Jar Challenge.
Joy, 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 joy. It's Adeline Gobergstein, and it's time for the Rabbi Jenny Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
Hey, this is Rabbi Jenny. Who's on the air?
Hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm quite well, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Do you know about the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge?
I do.
Oh, you do? Well, that's pretty exciting. Have I talked to you before, Steve, or is this a new connection?
No, I have a little. Actually, you know what? Luckily, I had my fingers crossed. I don't know all about it, but I was contacted by someone that gave me a little insight. So
Okay,
wanna
cool.
fill
Well,
in
the way
a
it
little more
works
in
is
that-
the way it works, Steve, is you have I don't know how much time. We're not timing you on the Jenny Show. We like to pretend like we're timing you. We are not. We're going to give you enough time that you need to name 10 things that you are ridiculously joyful for, and then you can promote something that you want on the Rabbi Jenny Show. You got 10 things for me?
Absolutely.
All right, let's hear them, Steve.
Okay, my life, my neighbors, my brothers, my sisters, the love of God, Sabrina, the love of my life, the sea, my talent, my heart.
One more.
And my purpose.
Oh, and what is that purpose, Steve? Tell me what it is.
My purpose is to love my neighbor and love others.
Oh,
And
I
learn to
love that.
Others well.
Steve, tell us what you want to promote today on the Rabbi Jenny Show. That was beautiful.
Well, Rabbi Jenny, I was blessed several years ago to be trusted with a 501c3 that God placed on my heart. I've been in the car business for 15 years, and I saw the struggle and the plight of a single mother. So with God's vision and God's purpose of my life, if I look back on my entire life, I can see why and how really everything that's happened in my life happened to put me to where I'm at today to create this 501c3 through the grace of Him.
And what
we
is
do
this
is-
501c3 called?
It's called Wheels from the Heart, and what we do is we donate reliable cars to single mothers in our community.
Oh, my God, I love that. I love that. Wheels of the Heart?
Wheels from the Heart.
Wheels from the Heart. Okay, Steve, how do
Right.
we find out about Wheels from the Heart?
Wheelsfromtheheart.org is our website. Wheels from the Heart on Facebook and Instagram.
That's awesome.
You can call 561-445-7444. We're always looking for donated cars. We can give a full Kelly Blue Book tax write-off, which is an advantage because it will be gifted to the car. It's not sold at an auction, so you get to write off the full amount of the value of the car. We've actually, what my saying is, you can give a single mother a ride to work, and she works for a day. If you give her a car, she drives for a better life.
Oh, my God, I want to jump through the microphone and give you a hug, Steve. That is the most awesome thing. And I'm calling out to the Rabbi Jenny listeners. I need professionals to partner with Wheels from the Heart to do a public service announcement on the Rabbi Jenny Show so we can get them on the show. Okay? Steve, would you do me another favor, please?
Absolutely.
Would you go on Facebook and go to my page so I can link you up and put your link on there for me?
Absolutely. And is that the Rabbi Jenny Show?
No, actually, it's Rabbi Jenny Skylark. You can just you'll see it. I think, yeah, I got to do one for the show. So thanks for thanks for pointing that out.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you. I'm so blessed to talk to you, and I'm just looking forward to doing more greater things.
You keep doing it because that is the most awesome thing I've heard in a while. Thank you so much for Wheels from the Heart, Steve. And call again, and maybe we'll have you on the show.
Would love to. Thank you, Rabbi. Have a great evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too. Oh, that was just amazing. We were talking about sensual living here on the Rabbi Jenny Show, and I am just amazed at people's ability to tap into something. Like there was something when Steve he was listening to, that day when he decided to do that, and it just blows me away. I want to talk about this experience that happened to me in my life, because I believe sensuality sometimes comes at the expense of a destroying, you kind of have to make space for it. I don't think it's like a destroying or anything, but you have to make a choice to step out of one way of living and step into a new way of living. And that involves a job I had. It was the most sensual job of my life, and I'm going to explain it to you, and you can be like, Rabbi Jenny, that doesn't sound very sensual. This was a job I had, and I've talked about it. The charity is on. I'm the chairman of the board. I was actually the director of a youth center for a summer for underprivileged youth, and it was the most sensual experience of my life. It was the most sensual experience of my life because I was drumming with them, I was playing basketball with them, I was hugging them, I was dancing with them, I was feeding them. It was just the most delicious thing. And you know what? We get caught up, listeners, in finances. We get caught up in the idea that we have to be on a grind, that we have to live a certain way, but sensuality is essential. Okay, I don't want to go into the semantics of that, but sensuality is worth this. It's worth the change, because what you get back is like tenfold in just the experience of it. Because I'm telling you, you can eat cereal all day long if you know you're going to get hugs and smiles and do art and watch people's spirits lift up and watch your own soul become awakened as you become more sensual in your life. We are actually going to do a very sensual Rabbi Jenny jam. We got a new beat again. We're going with the new beat.
Yo, 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 jam, jam, Rabbi Jenny jam, get your jam.
You guys like the beat? Please call in. Email me. This is a good one. I got mad joy for you, baby. I got mad joy for you, baby. I can't stop it. This flow of joy. It's a power that I can't ignore, and I can feel it down to my toes, in my fingers, and my heart just glows like a rainbow shining after the storm, and like a fire when I can't get warm, and taking freaky and making it norm. I got mad joy. Sing it in your car. Mad joy for you, baby. I got mad joy for you, baby. Yeah. And there's a light in the corner now, and a source of hope is spreading about. Possibilities have come to surround. What was lost was instantly found, and I can taste it in the air I breathe, in the flowers and the birds and bees, in the tickle right before a sneeze. I got mad joy. Sing it. I got mad joy for you, baby. I got mad joy for you, baby. Take me down to the river, lover. Take me down to the river, lover. I got mad joy for your listeners. Oh, we can fade it out. It was a great day. That was like my favorite. I'm getting these new beats. I'm so excited about that. Did you guys know the population of the birds is fading? That's really upsetting to me that birds are going, I think I'm the last to know because I really don't turn on the computer too much, but I want people to become aware, and I don't think if you look at the birds more, we'll get to keep them around, but I do encourage you to look at them because they're quite exceptional, and I don't know how long they're going to be here, but there is nothing like a red cardinal right at the right moment. There is nothing like a blue jay right when you need a sign, This planet is absolutely amazing. And this is when I talk to you listeners. This is my last few moments with you when I encourage you to live a sensual life and more joy. And I will miss you, and I will see you next week, or I will hear you, whatever. I'll talk to you. Be more sensual, babies. Taste, smell, hear, and touch as much as you can. I adore you. Bye-bye.
You have been listening and lighting up your life with Rabbi Jenny. Join us next week for another session of love, light, and joy as Rabbi Jenny takes life to the next level. Are you ready? Rabbi Jenny says the time is now. The opinions